heart, and that just is, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. It don't come easy. In the marketplace of souls, I gave my only silver piece, and I traded it for a mania, chemical urgency. And I staggered into works where the wind blows without relent. And I still don't know what living costs, but I can tell you what I've spent. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. It don't come easy. Weren't it you who pierced the dragon? Weren't it you who led us out of a land so damn oppressive, against hope and with great doubt? Did we not amble out of Egypt into wilderness so dry? Weren't there graves enough in Memphis that we've been brought here to die? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. It don't come easy. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. God, go easy.
And welcome back, you guys, to another episode of These People Are Idiots. Joined here again by my friend Cyprian Ivanov.
Hello?
And Cyprian, how are things in DC?
Chaotic, erratic, but productive. Even when things are going right, the nature of government tends to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's life.
Mm-hmm. So, what are some of the things that you're noticing that are going sour that could use some levels of critique?
I mean, for example, we don't have enough ships. We don't have enough investment in our maritime industry. Why did it take so long to clear the collapsed bridge in Baltimore? Because the Army got rid of the equipment that could have done it.
Yeah. How did it go with the Brooklyn Bridge? What was the cleanup like on that? Was there anything post the destruction on there? Because that seemed pretty...
The bridge was fine, but the Mexican midshipmen, I think 2 of them died.
Yep, and all their power went out right before they went next to the bridge, which I think was the same as the Baltimore Bridge, if I'm not mistaken.
And that seems to be a common problem for ship engines.
What's your explanation on that? Are you on conspiracy, incompetency, faulty systems?
There's a theory that using low sodium fuel tends to result in a higher degree of mechanical problems for ship engines. High sulfur fuel would have been fine. There's a claim that the high sulfur fuel was more reliable. Low sulfur fuel results in intermittent outages. And when you've got an intermittent outage, when you're navigating a confined channel, that's unsafe.
But doesn't it just seem weird that it just keeps happening around bridges? Kind of like how the train collapses kind of kept happening near rivers.
Well, the Biden administration required that ships operating within U.S. territorial waters, uh, like like port areas, areas by bridges, etc., they had to use low sulfur fuel. Well, if low sulfur fuel is less reliable and causes outages, there's more potential for steering loss. Now, I don't know if the low sulfur fuel explanation is true, but that's at least something that people have pointed to.
Did they try to use some sort of green argument behind it, like it's more effective to do this way, better for the environment, yada yada
Yep.
yada? Funny how that doesn't always work out. God, it's like the windmills and the whales over on the East Coast. Something I always think about. It's like it sounds like a great idea in practice until you realize nobody thought that the decibels would literally knock out the whale's sensories. Like,
And there was an effort to cover up the effect on whale navigation. At least there's some talk about the impact of changing the fuel mix for various ships.
God. I just don't want to get on a boat right now. I don't want to get on a plane right now. It just sounds like a bad idea.
A lot of the nuts and bolts administration has been catastrophically incompetent over the past decade or so. And that's not just a matter of big ticket items. It's things like, can you actually build a train route? So, for example, in California, the company that was hired to build a rail system ended up deciding to go to Morocco in North Africa because at least they could get stuff done in Morocco. They couldn't get stuff done in California.
That says a lot. And it's like my husband, he's been playing City Skylines for probably the last year now, and I love watching it. Like, for anyone out there who doesn't know, it's like a build your own city simulator, and it's very, very true to life because when you start tinkering with certain systems or things start going wrong, it's not just one spot that goes wrong. You tend to see like the interweb of different effects that it starts to have around the city. And it's like, it's a video game, but it's very, very realistic in that it shows like a little bit of mismanagement can just go and destroy everything.
I've played the first game, not all the VLCs, but it's a darn good game. But one of the problems is that a lot of people try to have transit ideas as if they work as smoothly as in a video game.
Mhm.
So, oh, let's build a $30 billion extension to take this metro line out to this casino resort area. 30 billion bucks is not chump change.
No.
And there's already buses that go there. And meanwhile, several metro stations, you can see the rust just leaching out of the cement walls. A whole bunch of the infrastructure needs to be completely repaired, and they're talking about a $30 billion extension.
Ugh. It's so gross. And it's like, I'm kind of thinking the same way with up in Eugene, EMX, the public bus system. There's some nicer buses, but the other ones are just left to complete shit, where that's the one where you find the heroin needles and the piss puddles and the shit stains. And then some of this.
I once found a roll of toilet paper in the back of a bus I was riding in.
Ugh. A little dirty.
No comment.
Man, that's one thing I love about living down here is like, and I mean, I guess I was kind of making light of this person's situation, but there was someone flailing and tweaking at the corner and screaming into the wind. I just looked over at my husband. I was like, "Oh my god, we have one! We found one! The only freaking tweaker in town!" Like, it's just so clean and normal here to see something like that is just such a wild card. Oh, I don't miss seeing that type of shit on a daily basis, man.
Well, I don't know what to say to that. Because of non-payment, the DC bus system is running out of money, and they decided to renumber the buses to help disguise the fact that they're cutting routes along where people don't pay.
That's like the same level as what you were telling me of like Hitler's military parades of just have the tanks go in a circle and inflate our numbers. It's like it's less dark, but it's like that same level of stupid.
Well, there was a time when they openly talked about, well, we're running out of money, so we've got to cut routes. Unfortunately, those routes are kind of depended on by poor people.
And is your bus system, do they do the things where like when people get on the buses down there, is it like you only pay if you get on a certain kind of bus? Like, for example, we had the longer buses that were like two buses put together, and on those ones you could get in through two separate doors. So if you went in through one of the back two doors, you didn't have to pay unless there was a security guard there. But if there's a security guard there, then you just wait for the next bus to come through. And then stuff like that, you know?
I mean, is that the rules or is that what people did?
It's basically what everybody did. That's the thing is like there's holes in the system to where it's like they're trying to be lenient and also cut corners, but in the end it results in lost revenue because nobody's keeping check. Like, because it sucks to have to pay a bus fee for sure, but it's like the amount of times me or anybody else skipped out on the bus, like so long as you knew the system, you were fine and you didn't have to pay to get around, which really probably did cause damage, I imagine.
Uh, well, in DC, there was a big movement against laws against fare evasion. So in 2019, Charles Allen and a bunch of other people on the city council passed a law decriminalizing fare evasion. It would only be a $50 fine, and Metro Transit police and transit workers couldn't chase after people to enforce it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a spike in murders. Guess why?
Yeah.
Including one day in which, within 24 hours, 2 people were murdered on transit platforms. It's DC. But the result was there was such a shortfall. Well, a lot of routes, along some of the routes, about 50% to maybe 70% of people pay. And in other areas, it's generally less than 10%. So you go up, you board, there's a card reader, touch the card, does it go through? If it goes through, they get their fare. If it doesn't go through, the driver is supposed to hit 9, and they claim a subsidy from the federal government. But the result is that that's not enough. Some people just waltz through without even pretending to pay.
Yeah. Something I noticed about being a cashier, some customers will walk in or they'll just walk right through the exit with a whole armfuls of shit and they just don't make eye contact. They're like, I'm getting what I want today. And it's just like, it's fucked up. Confidence gets you a lot in this world. Thankfully, I'm somewhere where we can report those people now. But
when you have spineless leadership, abusive instincts win.
Yep.
So a lot of the bus routes in the city are being cut. Really sucks to get anywhere if you don't have a car now.
God. And it's like we were kind of talking earlier before we started. It's like it's all the experienced workers, but in my experience, what that means is it's all the older workers. It's the people who've not only been there the longest, put in the work, done their shit, but they're also the ones who really know the people in the community, know people by their first names, ask people like, hey, how's your family doing? Check in with people on their day. Those are the workers we're losing right now. And in my own personal experience right now, that's pissing me the fuck off, which we don't have to get into yet, but it's everywhere all the time.
And those would seem to be the most valuable workers, just in terms of I'm sorry, still very sick.
No stress. I can cut that if you want.
Okay, let's try this again. And those workers would seem to be the most valuable for, one, knowing how to do the job, two, having trust in the community, three, navigating the system to help keep everything running smoothly. Those are the people you would want to retain.
Mm-hmm.
So why would management want to get rid of them? They might move a little slower, but if you're only looking at one variable, how fast people swipe things in and out, you start to neglect the other things that keep an organization running.
Yep.
And a lot of these managers aren't very smart. They learn a few things in school. They don't have a lot of practical life experience about how complicated things are. So they just try to optimize a handful of variables, and they don't look to see what the net effect is.
Mm-hmm. And in my case too, it's like one of the reasons I feel like they squeeze out this older generation too. They question things. They speak up for themselves. They call out bullshit. They got a little bit of an edge to them, and that causes a problem whenever you get rid of those people and then you bring in the younger, more whipped generation. You bring in the little yes men or the people that don't know any better. And then that's when, at least everywhere I've left that's done that, falls apart completely. Every time.
And that's not a new phenomenon. That was noticed in some companies in the 1960s and 70s. For example, one company tried to weed out the most determined and inquisitive pilots because they might push back and cause uncomfortable things for management. But those were also the pilots who were able to handle a plane in an emergency and able to maintain a safe flying record. The ones who simply did what they were told without questioning it tended to they tended to die and cause further problems in an emergency. And there's a famous study where by over focusing on egg laying, scientists they bred chickens for egg output, but then output dropped because the chickens were killing each other.
Yeah.
When you
Is that
focus
why
on
chickens are vicious?
well, when they're kept in a cage
Yeah.
and they don't have any outlet, some of them are vicious, some of them aren't.
Yeah, it gets bloody. I've always kind of wondered about that, if that was natural or not, because I've had friends that have had chickens and they go to bed one night, everything's fine. They wake up the next morning and it's a blood pit.
And there seems to be a range of personalities among chickens, but whatever the genes involved in extremely high levels of egg laying, apparently were also associated with high levels of killing each other.
God, it sounds horrible, but I wonder how that science equates into cockfighting, because that unfortunately is still a thing down here. And it's so fucking brutal, but also if you talk to people who've been around it and done that in their lifetime, there's actually a whole twisted science behind it that it actually goes incredibly deep. It's kind of disturbing.
I'm not surprised.
I have a relative who her father was a meth head and drug addict and not the greatest person. And she tells me stories about when she lived with him for a short time. Very similar story to my own father, but he would get the chickens methed out and they would actually take them to cockfighting championships. And in her garage are about 25 trophies that are about 5.5 feet tall with golden roosters at the top of them. And as horrible as it is, I was trying to get it as a podcast backdrop for a minute, but I haven't gotten one yet.
Okay.
It's a dark culture. It's not one I'm a part of. I don't endorse it, but sorry, not to get too off track.
A lack of aggressiveness causes a lot of problems, and we're seeing a lot of that in our current society. But you can also have a situation where too much aggression also causes problems. And some people try to channel that into outlets like sports or fighting sports. But oftentimes people who don't have a good sense of control or restraint end up taking that to very disturbing directions.
Yeah. And it's not that in terms of myself, not so much management in my own situation right now. That's one thing I'm having a struggle with right now is keeping my aggression in check, which is I think oddly enough why I'm sitting here with a bottle in my hand today is because I've had to have a couple of drinks to tone back because I've gotten incredibly snappy with situations going on at my work with we like I said, I'm a cashier. All of my cashiers want to quit. All the head cashiers are going to step down or quit or are quitting. My favorite one having left yesterday, who was an older woman who's described by what we had just talked about. And I just find myself getting so fucking pissed because like I told you, it's like I'm going from bad relationship to bad relationship to bad relationship. And I'm kind of struggling with how much do I say versus how much do I not say because I'm used to speaking my piece to the full. But when you have corporate narcissistic, faux empathetic figureheads coming into this degree, it like for me, I get so triggered for lack of better words by that it just I go to work and I shake now. My heart races. I'm just angry. Whereas when I first got to this job, I loved it. I bragged about it. I was excited to be there. It just sucks.
Yeah. This isn't really much solace, but this is a society-wide problem. Bad management is now, there's places where it's better or worse, but the general pattern of standards is that they are slipping. For example, reading skills in 49 states dropped, and only one of them improved.
What was the one state that improved?
Mississippi.
Damn. Good for them. What would you say that their improvements were attributed to? Would you say?
The big policy people are pointing to is holding people back until they pass reading. So not engaging in social promotion and trying to maintain objective reading test standards. And when kids actually are held to a standard, they'll actually make a minimal effort to achieve it, and then they'll be a heck of a lot better prepared for the work that goes on later.
That's how my generation was. I think I got the very last little bit of that before things started to change for a lot of schools in Texas because it's just how it dropped from you needed a 70 to get a C to now you need a 60 or a 50 and a 40, and then some schools started changing the letter grades. It just you need rigor. It sucks, and especially as a kid you fucking hate it, but as an adult looking back, it's like that the little bit of structure that I did have in school, the good years that I had, it left an impact on me that I think are incredibly important. I don't feel like I'd be able to function in society otherwise.
There are two main philosophies about how to instill creativity. One of them is people need structure, and once they master the structure, then they can strike out and be creative. They can find ways around rules. They can find ways that there are contradictions. You have to have a structure in order to be creative. That tends to be a view more common on the right. The view on the left tends to be, and again, I say tends to be, creativity is instilled by a lack of hard barriers, a lack of implications about what should or shouldn't happen. So, for example, one might give a bunch of samples of writing by Shakespeare or whoever, and then tell someone to write. And the first examples are going to mimic those examples, and then people will go off and do their own thing.
Mhm.
The other is free-flowing, whatever. It's not going to look very coherent, and then maybe it'll get better over time.
Yeah. That's where I
However,
really. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't cut you off.
but I say these are tendencies because I went through the French system, and the French left was very strong on rigorous standards, harsh grading, school discipline, because they believed that effective education was essential to an equal society, whereas the American left seems to be of the view that objective standards result in an unequal society. Very conflicting views.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think that's one struggle. There's really occasional good art teachers use art classes or artistic. Well, we could put reading classes in the same category because I like writing too. But there was teachers that teaching students to be creative. I feel like there's a time and place for the rigor, like when it comes down to critical reading or certain writing projects, but there'd be some times where it seemed like you would be given a creative prompt, but your level of creativity just wasn't what they imagined or thought. And I always kind of had that problem of people being the teachers being like, well, that doesn't really quite feel like, the art project or this. But it always felt like, well, this is an art project or a creative endeavor, and what we're engaged with right now is just a difference in perspective. It's not that what I've created is necessarily wrong. It's that, and I'm talking about younger years. But I feel like with a lot of kids that destroys their creativity. But I just feel like it's a juggling game as to when and where. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Maybe that's one I need to think about a little bit more.
Well, there's an observation that a supposedly egalitarian society is often harder to navigate because of the absence of clear structure, but an authoritarian society is oftentimes easier to navigate because the standards are clear.
Hmm.
So the military is a very authoritarian society. It also clearly lists rules, a lot of rules, but at least you have some basic idea of what you're supposed to do. But if it's a work culture where just do the right thing. Okay, fine, but what exactly am I supposed to do? Just the right thing. I have no idea what you mean by that. And then and a supposedly egalitarian society simply devolves into a bunch of cliques with ambiguous standards that's hard for outsiders to navigate.
Hmm.
So one of the quirks is that laws that are often very long are also very easy to follow because people know what the basic standard is and what the exceptions are. A law that is short but vague puts a lot of pressure on interpretation, and that makes it very hard for people to follow unless they have some idea about what everybody else thinks.
Yeah. And these new managerial corporate types, they love having those books. They love having those binders and all the little different things that they can exploit.
Frankly, I think most of it is that they're just not very bright.
Yeah.
They hear a few things, decide to, well, this must be why I am in this position. I must be smart because I have these basic ideas, and then try to implement it without looking to see what the impact is.
Yeah. It's, oh God, I'm trying not to get into too many specifics about my work right now. But for the people out there, anytime I've ever bitched about work on this channel, it's just all of that rolled up into one.
Well,
And it's everybody right now too. It's truth.
well, something I am dealing with is that I have a client who was okay, he was a manager, then his manager, then the vice president for the program. The vice president for the program did not seem to understand that the people who had done most of the work in that division left. Oh, why is it taking you so long? Why is it so hard? We've been doing this for years. The people who did it for years left.
Funny how that works.
So bad management it has a catastrophic effect on society, but it's a generalized problem, not a specific organization problem.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've been seeing about military academies and the management of various construction projects, same basic problem.
It's like how the last episode I described you. It's like when I think of Europe, it's like a black shadowy serpent of just war and pain and authoritarianism, and it just crawls around and infects everything it touches. In the United States right now, it just feels like we're a big piece of toast, and that this managerial problem is mold, and that it's just popping up all over the place, and you don't know when or where. And I just keep trying to jump onto the clean pieces of bread, but I keep getting touched by the mold. That's kind of what it feels like.
Well, in New York City, I've been reading up on Fiorello LaGuardia.
Ooh, who's that? That's not a name familiar to me.
A guy who became mayor from 1933 to 1946. But his big claim to fame was he dismantled the Tammany Hall system of corrupt patronage.
A little bit.
So Tammany Hall was a political machine that controlled New York City politics. So they would do things like steer contracts to their friends, insider trading.
Mafia type shit, basically. Like all the dark inside connections, everybody just kind of corrupting out for themselves.
Basically, yes. So, for example, underage kids were being used to harvest clams. And then the guy who ended up passing that law ended up arguing against it and getting it repealed simply so he could win a case and money from the big clam corporations.
Jesus.
That was routine politics in New York City at the time. Arguably, they still managed to build things, but it was a highly corrupt and dysfunctional system. So eventually, Fiorello LaGuardia won election, and he dismantled that political machine. Modern New York politics is also pretty darn bad, but it wasn't the open acceptance of graft and insider trading, etc. But after he did that, then came the mafia. Then came a whole bunch of other corrupt organizations. There's always a certain subset of people who are willing to abuse rules and abuse other people in order to get ahead. Destroying one political machine ended up funneling those people into other avenues of seeking power and wealth by hurting other people.
It's like the Jordan Peterson lobster hierarchy comparison, to where, his whole claim is that the woke wants to eliminate hierarchies. And he's like, if you go back in our biological structure and track it back all the way to lobsters, the fact that a lobster always like stands up tall and proud and asserts dominance, like it's in its DNA to take power over another being or another lobster, and how you're never able to get rid of that. It's like, there's always a bigger fish. There's always something that's going to come in. And if you don't know how to fill the void, then it's just like that darkness is just going to hop to one place or another.
I hadn't encountered that, but yeah, that seems descriptive. Even supposed egalitarians want distinction. They want recognition for themselves. They want either attention or money or power. And the same applies to corruption.
Ugh. The stupid shit we're going to have to deal with till we die.
Welcome to life.
This one, we might not have it in the next. Hoping for that. If we do, I'm going to be pissed. Unless it's interesting.
We die, we go to the pearly gates, and it's fill out this 270-page form. That's the short version.
God. Oh, bureaucracy in heaven. Wouldn't that be a bitch?
Well, you've got all the time in the world for it.
Oh man, this reminds me of Loki. I know you probably haven't watched that show yet, but if there's ever a Marvel show you go to, Loki, the idea of a cult that claims to control time, but it's all just super, super bureaucratic, like KGB, FBI type structures. It's just like it's a horrible way to think of like how reality would be. It's like, oh, we're controlled by these people in these suits with these briefcases and these dorks sitting at desk, and they're all actually in a cult and they don't know it.
Well, I mean, one of the things that really broke down the Jehovah's Witnesses was for a long time, the people in charge didn't have public appearances. And okay, they're humble people. We might not necessarily agree with what they're putting out, but presumably they're thinking about it in sincere and humble people. Then they went on camera, and a bunch of people reacted with, wait, these are the people we were following?
Yeah, you could see it with the kid shows. Jehovah's Kid cartoons, those get pretty wild.
I'm not
Very.
familiar with them.
You should look. There's a bunch of YouTubers who left being Jehovah's, and a lot of them will cover that type of stuff. And it's very much like leave your friends, question your teachers, like anybody who doesn't follow this is damned to hell. But it's like Disney style cartoons, like little 3D Pixar type animations, really cutesy pop culture stuff. And it's like, oh God. Look, really colorful with dark undertones, basically.
I was familiar with Scientology before wokeness really took hold. So I saw a lot of the same tactics being replicated. The whole whip up people's sense of fervor that they have special knowledge. They don't have to follow the laws and standards of the general society. The shun people who left, shun people who won't join you, try to destroy people utterly. That stuff Scientology did. And then I saw the woke doing that.
Mm-hmm. Stuff my dad did, stuff Larry did, stuff Antifa does, stuff I've had all these managers do. It's all the same disease.
Yeah.
That doesn't bode well for society. I mean, you look in the Middle East at a lot of these places that have been ravaged for years and years and years, and you look at these people and they look out of their mind and their eyes are red and their skin and fucking bone and they're missing teeth and they're scraggly hair and they're scarred up and dinged up. And it's like, they're humans and you feel that they're humans, but it's like, it almost looks like their humanity's been taken away from them and like they've become zombies. And it's like, what do you like the way that people like in a lot of these places will behave and act, how it becomes so murderous, so rapey, so everybody's stealing, thinking, fighting for themselves, like all the craziness. It's like we're getting really, really close to that. If that's what, like, that's where all these signs are kind of leading, is we're all becoming borderline murderous zombies. And it's like, even the people in this country that aren't murderous, they're fucking becoming murderous. They like to see it. They'd love to be at the stadium in Rome, watching the Lions eat somebody, so long as it's a person they want to see get eaten. And that's freaking me out.
The military is prepared for bloodlust in people. And it's viewed as a problem because people who can't control that end up making stupid decisions. And they end up making decisions that aren't just immoral, but cause problems for the organization. For example, chasing after an enemy and then accidentally causing an ambush, or abusing local civilians who then turn against you. Bloodlust is a problem. But militaries have had hundreds of years of thinking about the problem of bloodlust to try to instill discipline in people. Civilian organizations I think, by the fact that they aren't physically hurting other people, think that they're immune from that problem, but they're not. When civilian organizations and movements can entice people by the pleasure that comes from hurting other people, they have a risk of bloodlust, and they have not morally confronted the risks that that poses.
Yep. And a lot of it, I feel like, has to do, so many people have their rose-shaded glasses on. Like, this country really is like if Professor Umbridge came in secretly and just put us all under one big spell. Like, we don't talk about the dark things anymore. We don't talk about the devil. We don't talk about the communists. We don't talk about this. We don't talk about this. That doesn't exist anymore. Everything's fine now. Just forget about it.
I think a lot of people are emotionally fragile, and they don't know how to deal with the effects of bad things, either because they'll just go completely into it, or they'll be tempted by it, or they'll be angry about it, so they just ignore it. And that process of ignoring it causes things to fester, but it also means that people aren't really thinking about the problem or the solution, and the effort to maintain their own emotional stability often means people exert pressure on other people to not acknowledge problems.
Mm-hmm. And then these same types of people too, like I've had conversations with people in these predicaments. It's like they're the same types of people who wonder, well, why don't I see my friends anymore? Why are all my relationships failing? Why am I always beefing with my family? Why am I always getting so pissed off at social media? And just ignoring that all the meanwhile. It's like you ignore things in one place, chances are you're ignoring them everywhere else too, except for your own needs and your own wants and your own desires and your own, need to climb up some sort of social ladder to get whatever the fuck you want.
Plausible.
While also losing everything in the process. Not for everybody, but for a lot of people I've met, it's just like, I don't know. It's like people aren't just becoming oblivious of one thing in their lives anymore. It's like people are becoming oblivious of their entire lives.
It's long been known that inducing people to externalize their sense of control to other people can be very politically successful for politicians. You're poor because the Jews did it, or you're poor because the WASPs did it, or you're poor because the Italians did it. And that tends to result in scapegoating as a effective political tool, but it also tends to emotionally destroy the people who give into that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they think, I can't do anything because the Italians won't let me, then it becomes a matter of, I can't do anything, so I won't try to better my position.
Which oh man, I didn't think Kanye still had so much support, but that song, I won't say the word, N-word Heil Hitler, that he just released.
Man, these people took my kids from me, then they froze my bank account. I got so much anger in me, got no way to take it out. Think I'm stuck in the matrix, where the fuck's my nitrous? Guess I am a cuck, I like when people fuck on my bitch. The shit that I'm posting on Twitter, they telling me, hey, don't say that. How niggas can't see me in public, I'm driving an all-chrome Maybach. With all of the money and fame, I still can't get my kids back. With all of the money and fame, I still don't get to see my children. Niggas see my Twitter, but they don't see how I be feeling. So I became a Nazi, yeah, bitch, I'm the villain. Nigga, how Hitler? Nigga, how Hitler? They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. Nigga, how Hitler? They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. All my niggas Nazis, nigga, how Hitler?
you go to the comment sections on some of that, and it's like, I want to think they're bots, but I'm like, no, these are very disaffected, angry, stupid young men who are just, a lot of it's probably trolling, but you know, the key lines in the beginning of that song are, they took my family, they took my money, they took my job, da na 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 na, N-word Heil Hitler. And you know, one thing that I've been noticing people saying in relation to that too is like the wider effect of it. You know, I keep seeing this expression come up: the post-World War II consensus is deteriorating. And it's just like reevaluating who was right and who was wrong. And it's like, I believe that there were elite organizations that started World War I, that wanted World War II to happen, that probably want World War III to happen. I believe that there is an interconnected set of dark figureheads and elite underworld types, and not everything is what we were told. I believe they knew Pearl Harbor was going to happen. But a lot of these people, they're not thinking about the complexities of that type shit. They're just going straight to, well, if one side was right and one side was wrong, and now we're reconsidering that, and there's only two sides, and we're of a dual-minded perspective now where there can only be two camps, well, then that must mean Axis good, Allies bad.
And that really frustrates me because, one, I actually know something about what the Nazis did, and the way they thought, the way they intimidated people, that was very similar to what the woke did. Remember the Gleichschaltung? Okay, you probably don't know about it.
Sick. You gotta tell me about that.
The Gleichschaltung was the effort to bring all institutions in society under central control, including, for example, canary breeders' clubs.
It's like
And if
everything.
that sounds trivial, that was actually an example used by a Nazi official. No independence of organizations. If this sounds a little like the woke, it absolutely is. It's the same psychology.
Mm-hmm.
The Western allies were a lot closer to what we would a lot closer to what gets called fascist by the people who ended up abusing the term, but the actual fascists were very much of the everything within the state, nothing against the state, etc. They were the actual fascists were all about total central control, ideological tests, etc. One of the effects of trivializing the word fascist and Nazi has been that the core ideas of the fascists and Nazis were no longer treated as bad things, they were just treated as labels.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the so-called cubed hoax by James Lindsay, etc., was so fascinating.
The articles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He took part of Mein Kampf, changed the target, and then submitted it to a journal that was willing to publish it. The people abusing the word Nazi were not actually hostile to Nazi ideas. They were simply hostile to the people who had ideas or who are different targets.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I think that really angers me with the Kanye situation, is when a lot of people who are like super, super left start criticizing. And it's like, you know, I hate to say it, but if we want to criticize Kanye, might want to start with criticizing ourselves a little bit, because
and that's one of the things. Even in the 90s, historians knew that trivializing the words Nazi and fascist and calling everybody Hitler was simply going to result in a resurgent neo-Nazi movement. Guess what we saw?
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said before, it used to piss me off when people would come to the protests and they're like, "You're just revitalizing racism. You're making it all come back." And we would just laugh at them and be like, "What are you talking about, you stupid bitch? It's been here." And in hindsight, it's like, oh, shit. Yeah. Yeah, we fucked up. We fucked up, and now Hitler's going around in a black KKK hood. Sorry. Like, yes, blame goes to the individual, but like, I think I've told you about it before, but you should really watch Lex Fridman's handling of Kanye West.
What I love is having a healthy conversation. And as opposed to, there's certain things, you know, boom, this drops, people going to have pussy hats on. Boom, this drops, it's going to be, you know, black people and white people with signs. Boom, this drops. So, hey, China, hey, left agenda, hey, what we're going to do is say that our species can have a healthy conversation. Can
I just linger on this? Because when you say Jewish media, there's a echo of a pain that people feel that reminds
you're saying it's redundant, right?
No, I'm not saying it's redundant. I'm saying
it's redundant.
You're saying it's redundant.
It's a redundant
I'm saying it's something I'm saying that it's something that Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister of Nazi Germany, said. I'm saying it's been said so many times in order to murder and torture Jewish people that it just rings wrong.
And that's the
just thing. Like the N word when spoken by people that have the same skin color as me, it reminds people of a very dark time.
I know. If Jewish people would accept that I'm Jew, then they would see what I'm saying in a different way. They would hear it in a different way.
But see, the people, you saying you're Jewish,
No, I'm Jew, not Jewish. Jewish means like that of a Jew. I'm saying I'm Jew.
You're a Jew.
Blood of Christ.
That
Orthodox Christian.
Right. But are you a follower of the philosophy of the Black Hebrew Israelites? Because that's where the idea comes from. Not all of those folks are extremists, but some are extremists.
I'm a follower of the idea. I have a vague idea that all people came from Africa. But what I wanted to do, now I could Andy Kaufman this about 7 more minutes and then tell you what it is, what the whole point is.
Let's count 7 minutes.
No,
do less.
I did this to do a spoiler alert.
Sure, spoiler.
What's the first thing I said at the beginning?
We're talking about engineering and humans. We're all human.
And then what did I say we shouldn't focus on?
Race.
Not just that. I said they shouldn't teach this in school.
History.
The history, because what schools are doing is exactly what the CIA does with Pixar films and Disney films. They make Bambi's mom die in the beginning, right? And off that pain comes a purchase of ice cream. Off that pain comes, I need some more toys. Off that pain comes, I need a bigger house. Off that pain comes, I need more girls than my wife. Off that pain comes, so they put that pain in to make us, now we're the orphans of capitalism, to make us be consumers. And we need to be a community.
Sitting down with Kanye West for 3.5 hours where he discusses, his experience as someone of Jewish descent, his family, what he knows of the Holocaust, and it's obviously was pissing him off in a lot of moments, but he was willing to sit down and have a conversation, whereas other people in the media wanted to use Kanye as bait, and that made him worse, because essentially at this point, he's like a Todd Phillips Joker type character, and he's gone off the fucking deep end. But it's because people wanted to push and push and push and nag and nag and nag, and they wanted to be that villain for him. And he's like, okay, well, I can be a villain too. And I think that's really what he's saying.
Nothing can hurt me anymore. My life is nothing but a comedy.
Well, let me get this straight. You think that killing those guys is funny?
I do. And I'm tired of pretending it's not. Comedy is subjective, Murray. Isn't that what they say? All of you, the system that knows so much, you decide what's right or wrong the same way that you decide what's funny or not.
Well, okay, I think I might understand that you did this to start a movement, to become a symbol?
Come on, Murray. Do I look like the kind of clown that could start a movement? I killed those guys because they were awful. Everybody is awful these days. It's enough to make anyone crazy.
Okay, so that's it. You're crazy. That's your defense for killing 3 young men?
No. They couldn't carry a tune to save their lives. Oh, why is everybody so upset about these guys? If it was me dying on the sidewalk, you'd walk right over me. I pass you every day and you don't notice me. But these guys, what, because Thomas Wayne went and cried about them on TV?
You have a problem with Thomas Wayne, too.
Yes, I do. Have you seen what it's like out there, Murray? Do you ever actually leave the studio? Everybody just yells and screams at each other. Nobody's civil anymore. Nobody thinks what it's like to be the other guy. You think men like Thomas Wayne ever think what it's like to be someone like me? To be somebody but themselves? They don't. They think that we'll just sit there and take it like good little boys, that we won't werewolf and go wild.
You finished? I mean, there's so much self-pity, Arthur. You sound like you're making excuses for killing those young men. Not everybody, and I'll tell you this, not everyone is awful.
You're awful, Murray.
Me? I'm awful? Oh yeah, how am I awful?
Playing my video. Inviting me on the show. You just wanted to make fun of me. You're just like the rest of them.
You don't know the first thing about me, pal. Look what happened because of what you did, what it led to. There were riots out there. 2 policemen are in critical condition. You're laughing. You're laughing. Someone was killed today because of what you did.
I know. How about another joke, Murray?
No, I think we've had enough of your jokes.
What do you get
I don't think so.
when you cross
I think
a
we're
mentally
done
ill
with your
loner
jokes.
with
That's
a
it.
society that abandons him and treats him like trash?
Call the police,
I'll
Gene.
tell you what you get.
Call the police.
You get what you fucking deserve.
I don't know enough about Kanye to make an informed comment regarding it. But at least for the larger society, whenever people are presented with false dichotomies and one of them keeps on getting worse and worse, eventually people are going to pick the option that is meant to be the unthinkable one. Simply because that kind of psychological abuse causes people to idealize the opposite choice.
This could be another dystopian one for you. Let me see if I can find this real quick.
So I need to tell you guys a little something about me. And you can call me crazy, you can call me whatever you'd like, any name under the sun. But I'm very in tune with my past and my past lives and lifetimes that I've lived before this one. My last life just so happened to be a very infamous one. Me offing myself was one of the first memories I had from that lifetime. It came to me when I was 5 in my nightmares. You can see right where I shot myself too. That and just so many other things throughout my life have connected me to my past. And you can go say, oh, go get on your meds again, you nutter. I've been on so many meds and none of them have changed what I saw when I was 5.
Google makes it so hard to look up. Maybe you'll have a better time because I'm fighting my computer, or maybe you've already seen it, but there was a non-binary girl who was on TikTok probably a year or 2 ago who believed that she was the reincarnated soul of Hitler. Got a piercing of the Hitler mustache. I think shaved down her eyebrows, did the hair. Non-binary, woke to the core. I am the reincarnation of Hitler.
I have not seen that, but
Not seen that. Sorry, I had to.
but I would not be surprised given, could it be a legit belief? Maybe, maybe not. That's definitely going to attract attention. And if a lot of people declare themselves non-binary because they want attention, That's a great way to get it. But
It
it's
just seems
also,
like. Oh, sorry.
if you believe in reincarnation, why would all the people you're reincarnated as be good people?
Kind of makes it seem like one of the more honest ones then. Just like, hey, I didn't ask for this burden. Man just lives inside me now.
Many people believe in reincarnation, of course. Some people even claim they remember who they were in a previous life. There's a society in America, of course, in California, of course, right? And they remember who they were in a previous life. And they're always someone pretty special in their previous life. Not so much in the life they've got now. But I saw a documentary about it, and every year they have a come as you were party, where they go dressed as the person they were in history. 2 Napoleons. So, at least one of them is fucking lying.
But I think that this is a new character of person that we're gonna get.
I think we have reached the point where people are no longer treating what happened in World War II as a historic conflict. Because, I mean, I could read about General Guderian and his notions about warfare, or the import-export policies of Germany, and the wrangling over it, and the propaganda going on before World War II. But that's because it was a real war. It was actual people making moral choices, trying to calculate the implications, and ultimately it became the most destructive conflict of the 20th century. But it was a real thing. But gradually people stopped treating it as a real war and started treating it as a stark binary moral choice, which in fact it was. But they stopped thinking of the specific policies involved, the specific ideologies, the ideas, and just treated it as one side good, one side bad. One side was relatively good and one side was relatively bad. But they stopped realizing that it was based on actual conclusions and facts.
Yeah.
And when the presentation of that just becomes, oh, horrible things happened, people suffered, that's not going to warn people away from those ideas.
And in terms of the younger generation too, funny how it all coincides with trigger warnings. And if you don't want to see a dead body in class today, go ahead and sit out in the hallway and play on your phone with your friends.
Ugh.
It's like, sorry, but I needed to see those pictures of dead Jewish people growing up. I needed to see the burning buildings. I needed to see the monk on fire. I needed to see these images so that when I got older, I could be like, huh, this sounds fucking familiar.
And one of the things that I find very irritating on a personal level is that people act as if the Nazi distortion of Christianity, positive Christianity, was, oh, that's just what Christianity was like prior to 1960. No, it wasn't. The Nazis destroyed St. Matthew's Church in Munich because the clergy weren't going to go along with the Nazi lies. Dr. Krauss, in his Berlin Sportspalast speech, was talking about cutting books out of the Bible and all sorts of stuff. Nazi versions of Christianity were not Christianity. In many respects, the United States is the home to a more sincere form of Lutheranism than what remains in Germany.
And also, it's like the older I get too, it's like a lot of these kids growing up being like, the church sucked, it was tacky, the people were horrible, it didn't get the message across. Well, it turns out, at least my entire life, the church has been getting corrupted by forces that ultimately seem to be left-leaning and Marxist in nature. So it's like, if church really hurt you that bad, maybe ask who destroyed your church. It's kind of where I'm starting to get with it, because these churches are getting very, very corporate. They're getting very fucking woke. They're getting very TV based, and that wasn't conservatism. A lot of conservatives really don't like that stripping away of traditionalism and the digitization of everything, and they want to be in a room with their friends in front of a giant cross, hanging out, talking about Jesus. That doesn't exist anymore, and that's not because of conservatives. That's not because of the far right. It's largely because of the left right now, if we're to look at politically leaning.
I would say threats exist in both directions, but yes, one of them is a much bigger threat than the other.
I'm just worried about my mom's church right now. Like, I'll go occasionally and I love it. It's like I've described before, it's a campus church, so it's like podcast church. The preacher pre-records and you watch it, and they have a live performance of music and all that. But my mom was telling me one day about how they were putting out statements against the Aryan Brotherhood because a bunch of flyers got left around town, which is very concerning. But you look at that in terms of like their DEI policies and everything else going on, and how much they ride that word diversity, and it's like, maybe don't lean so hard into the race war topics with your not constituents, but your congregation.
So,
It's like they're playing that game. And my mom, she's like, I want to be aware of Nazis because you're my gay son and I have a lot of friends of color and yada yada yada. And it's like, yeah, you should be. It's a fucked up thing. But when the church starts propagandizing it and leaning into the threats by amplifying it outward, it's kind of like, well, why did you need to put out that statement? Because they left it very vague. If this was someone in our church, and it's like, well, any business or church or anything could have put out that statement. Like, you chose this topic to discuss today. To what,
at least I belong to a church that has a problem of some people idolizing the Nazis and trying to make accusations against the church leadership uh, and the new version of the Book of Concord, the big book of teaching. They genuinely think the Nazis were okay. Some of their statements reveal that they tend to be of more pagan, or they believe nature is more powerful than God. That's not Christian. But they've made a bunch of accusations against people, including my pastor.
Damn.
So there is a place for explicitly condemning that because they were starting to have an effect. But not every situation is like that. If it's just something going on in the community, then there's really a lot less pressure to spend valuable church time talking about it.
Yeah.
At the same time, you're supposed to be kind of aware of the moral forces in society. And if you simply say, well, racism is bad, it violates these parts of the Bible, but we're not going to actually say anything about it, do you really believe it? So it's one of those, they've got to make a call one way or the other. So it's very much a matter of how do you make that call? And I don't trust a lot of these big corporate churches.
No, there's a really good show on HBO that I feel like summed it up well. And it's not to say that my family was corrupt and crazy like this, but like growing up in the Baptist church in West Texas, seeing these types of characters, it's basically a show about a family who runs a mega church, and it's got John Goodman, he's the father, and then Danny McBride and a bunch of other really great actors. It's super Southern church style. And it's like, I hate to say it, but I watch that show and it's like, that kind of feels more like what it is now, where they're all looking out for themselves. They're all super grandiose, narcissistic, putting on a show, wearing jetbacks in the middle of the sermon. It's like, how can we reach people with the most money possible? What can we do to make the grandest show, imaginable? And
it's narcissistic hype cultivation as opposed to drawing people to worship God.
It was one of my problems my grandmother had when my grandfather died, because he got Alzheimer's, I want to say at least the last 10 years of his life. And he was leading the sermons at First Baptist in Odessa, Texas. And that's when it was very like, there was a choir and an orchestra and violins and organs. And like way up there was where you get baptized. And like the ceiling was high as the heavens themselves. And it was like very structured and very, dare I say, religious. And it felt right. I hated it as a kid because it bored the fuck out of me, but as an adult I would kill to be back in that space. Maybe not kill because it's a sin, but whenever he stepped down as pastor because he got Alzheimer's, the church expanded, and then they started doing the thing where they started putting in rock bands. And well, you have a church that 85% of the population there is, 60 or above. Well, they're not really into rock bands.
Well, I wrote this song for the Christian youth. I want to teach kids the Christian truth. If you want to reach those kids on the street, then you gotta do a rap to a hip-hop beat. So I gave my sermon an urban kick. My rhymes are fly, my beats are sick. My crew is big and it keeps getting bigger. That's 'cause Jesus Christ is my nigga.
And then simultaneously, you bring that type of music in, and the kids my generation, there'd be occasionally be one or two songs that you may like in your church, but for the most part, the music turned off a lot of kids. And what did we do? We went to
Christian rock
Slipknot.
stops.
Yeah. Well, some of it's really good, but it's like they don't promote it, So what did we do? We went to Marilyn Manson, who just dropped a music video 5 days ago about being on God's side now. The apocalypse is coming full circle. It's fucking amazing. But, it's like they lost 2 generations in the same moves. And now seeing the effect of that as I get older, that really did cause a lot of damage. Like, so many decisions they made was just not good. Covering up child rape, that was not good. That was something that was happening in many of the churches that I grew up in too. It's like, it became another cult, basically.
Yeah. Oh boy. If I talk about Alfred Kinsey and the mismanagement of the Catholic Church, I will say something I will come to regret.
Dare to jump in those waters.
Alfred Kinsey claimed to be a scientist. And he actually was a scientist studying insects. But he claimed to do a scientific study of human sexuality. And he was a damn liar. What he did was absolutely freaking horrifying. Table 34 is probably one of the most horrifying things you can read in a supposedly scientific book.
What's it read?
Table 34, example of multiple orgasm in pre-adolescent males.
Ooh.
Age, 5 months. Age, 11 months. Age, 11 months. 2 years. 2.5 years, 4 years, 4 years, 4 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 10 years.
There's literally a scene, I don't know if you've seen Sound of Freedom yet, where they're raiding the pedophile in the beginning, and they go into an old, dusty garage, and that's literally how his VHS collection of child exploitative material reads. It's age 1 to 2, age 3 to 4, age 5, age 6. Yeah, I thought that's who we were talking about, but
Well, that data came from a pedophile.
So you were saying something about the Catholic Church, though. What's the correlation there?
Right. The American Catholic Church is heavily divided between those who genuinely believe and those who don't. And those who don't generally sucked up to left-wing politicians and social groups. And the left tends to revere Alfred Kinsey as a scientist. Mm-hmm. So a lot of Kinsey's claims were uncritically accepted by people within the Catholic Church until, by some people, by some factions, for a while. So when priests were accused of misconduct, there was pressure to not view it as a horrible betrayal and to just view it as a momentary sin.
Just a product of the times, huh? Fuck.
The 70s were far more disturbing than people remember.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the reality of why so many kids in my generation are fucked now. It's like so many of our parents got fucking touched or thrown into those types of horrible situations because it was so publicly permissible in the norm, and you just hid your shame and you didn't talk about it. And it's like, and it's not a slam on my mother, but my mother was in a very similar situation growing up where she was sexually traumatized and it was covered up. And there is a generational effect to these types of things. That's lifelong trauma. And to know that that's just so permissible on a wide scale for so long, but not only that, but that we're going back to that type of permissibility. Like, I think the kids are shit now.
So the acceptance of certain ideas about sex and accountability is going to result in, yes, another generation of traumatized people. And substantial parts of the leadership of the Catholic Church didn't take it seriously, and they were more focused on the financial fallout than the moral betrayal, in the sense of, okay, the secular scientists might be saying this, but is this actually true? In the US, it tends to be right-wing Catholics that are alert to that kind of abuse, and the left-wing Catholics that covered it up. But in Mexico, it's the reverse. So there's a general global pattern of the left-wing Catholics tolerating it and hiding it, and the right-wing Catholics not. But it doesn't always work that way in every country.
Mm-hmm. God, Catholicism is so convoluted. I still need to learn more about the new guy who came in. Apparently he said something about the LGBT community, and I keep seeing the thumbnails pop up, and I'm just like, you know what? I hope it was something humbling. I don't know what it is at this point. All I know is the man has something to do with aliens, but I am also interested in what he brings to the table. Not that it's ever much. It's more so just what kind of controversy is the man going to spin up, and what's he going to hide?
I don't really know that much about him, other than he spent some time in Peru, and allegedly he was not as harsh with two priests who committed abuse as some people believe he should have been. But it's also the Catholic Church is believed to have deep pockets, so people will demand a lot because they expect maybe the church is going to pay out. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that makes it really hard to evaluate.
It's so gross, but I think that South Park did it good, like they did with most things, where they believe that Butters was molested by the priest because Butters becomes best friends with the preacher, and he thinks he's just going on like a super happy friendship, and the preacher's like fighting his urges to basically molest Butters. And the Catholic Church believes that Butters was molested, so they come in with a comboni. Like, basically they come in to clean up all the evidence, and they're just like running around, and it's like their job to just clean up after the priest and make sure that they never get caught for any of their sins.
Scrub everything. Police can detect even a milligram of common rectal blood. Hey! Oh, hello, my children. The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
What are you guys doing? Oh, we're just giving the place a nice scrub down while we wait for your priest to come back. He was called to South America last week.
Last week? No, he was at my house a couple days ago playing board games with the boys.
No, he wasn't. Look, I assure you everything is fine. Your priest will be back. Just have some patience.
And it's like you watch it and it's cartoonish, but then you kind of read these stories and you're like, it's not really that off base minus the comboni. Past that, everything seems pretty accurate.
Well, several seminaries in the US were notorious for basically a bunch of gay guys bringing their friends along. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't viewed as much of a negative by a lot of people in that faction of the American Catholic Church. But it also meant that many of the ideas of the gay community, including some of the bad ones, ended up becoming popularized.
Yeah. Not to mention the games they play with each other too. It's like Epstein level exploitation. It's like the Catholic priests just catching each other with other guys and then holding it over their head to do whatever they want. It's like
that. From the accounts I heard, it wasn't really used for blackmail.
No?
It was kind of expected par for the course. There were straight priests, but they didn't. That was more of an anomaly in those circles.
God, it's funny where gay pops up. Me and my husband were talking about that the other day, about just how active Grindr seems to get around the Republican National Convention.
Now let's turn back to the Republican National Convention, which is set to start Monday. All week long, we've been talking to Republican strategist Marie Byron, who has all the details about this important event.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi there, Marie. Now, all of Tampa Bay is gearing up for the convention, but I understand no one's more excited than the area's gay prostitutes who are expecting record numbers of clients.
That's right, Andrea. This convention means increased sales for hotels, restaurants, and, of course, the men who provide anonymous gay sex.
All right, now, how much money will all those closeted Republican convention goers bring into the city, Marie?
A lot. The average Tampa area prostitute normally makes around $200 to $300 a week jerking off truck drivers behind the bus station. But
I see.
Next week, they are expecting to make about 30 times that amount sucking off secretly gay Republicans.
Wow. So the convention goers will be slipping out of prayer breakfast and Mike Huckabee speeches all week long to go trawl Tampa side streets.
And all those tricks add up.
They sure do.
Then you figure the fact that these delegates are so repressed and filled with self-hatred,
yes,
they tend to like the filthiest, kinkiest sex acts imaginable.
Oh, that's
which
right.
Tends to cost more.
Right. On this chart, I see fecal play, choking.
But, you know, the average well-adjusted gay man has no desire to smear fecal matter all over his partner's face or be beat up by him. But you know, that is exactly the sort of thing that these repressed conservatives are willing to pay top dollar for.
Okay, as well as the services of transsexuals, I understand.
Yes.
The she-male prostitutes in Tampa, well, they've already begun to wear Republican T-shirts and pins to signal they're ready to cater to the GOP.
Well, no one loves a hooker with a dick under her dress more than a closeted Republican. No one.
Well, let's talk about South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. We obtained a copy of his schedule here, Marie, and you can see...
Right, you can see he has left 2-hour blocks of time, which we assume is for getting his balls drained by a tranny named Chandrell Mercedes.
Yes, well, we spoke to Tampa gay prostitutes earlier today. Let's take a look.
Please.
I'm gonna fuck all these old fatty boys. I'm gonna go get some Tina. I'll party.
I was hoping to make some money and maybe buy a plane ticket to see my aunt down in Houston. Go Mitt Romney.
It sounds like they're really looking forward to it.
Yes, but it will also be exhausting. A lot of the Republicans repeatedly call the prostitutes faggots or start crying after they've had sex with them.
I suppose the prostitutes are shoring up on their politics so they can talk to the Republicans.
Ha ha, Andrea, what do you think this is, Pretty Woman? They're just there to get fucked.
Right. Thank you, Marie Byron.
RNC's always a good time.
Good to see you as always. Moving on, Ron Paul received an important endorsement just in time for the RNC from Big Sandy, the horse who can do math.
I know a guy who went there. Yes, he did talk about that.
There's an old Onion skit about that just nailed it, because
there's a joke that the far left is straight guys trying to act as if they're gay, and the far right is gay guys trying to act as if they're straight.
Dead ass. Some of the biggest faggots I've ever met are straight men. I'm just like, sweetie, calm down. Stop being so angry. We know what you did. We know what you hide. It's fine. It's 2025. Oh, man. I'm going to pause this just for the sake of... I don't know. There's just something about...
Oh.
We overcomplicated homosexuality. I don't know if that's what I was going to discuss in previous, but...
There's a question about whether you regard something as a matter of degree or as a binary all good or all evil thing. So people who do religious analysis, who view something as a negative but not overwhelming, would probably be a bit more analytical about what's going on and not try to bludgeon people. People who think in terms of all black, all white would be more inclined to just beat people up and berate them rather than figure out what's going on. I think it's the same instincts, the same way of thinking has an impact on religion the way it does in politics, the way it does in business, etc.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially when we treat all these things like a religion. You know?
May you explain?
I don't know. It's just the fact that all these different institutions and organizations and cultures, they all have the same downfall and they all have the same collapse and the same types of personality traits that come in parasitically and take down everybody within the system. And it's like, I don't want to say that people look at religion wrong, because who the hell am I to say that? But the way that most people tend to operate, let's say, I'm trying to think of how to explain this. Like Antifa, that's a standard example on the channel, right? That was my religion. Devote everything to it at all cost, and then when things start to sour and you realize how fucked up you're getting, then all the trauma and all that falls apart. Same thing has happened in any horrible job I've been in, horrible relationship, horrible instances with family. It's all the same type of downfall. But it's like, okay, well, with my father, I treated my father very religiously. I treated my father like he was God. Oh my God, you've been gone my entire life. All my idealization of having my father back, my life's going to be perfect now. Oh my God, this is going to be utopia. Life's fixed now. Not the case. Same with a lot of friends. Same with Antifa. You know, it's like you put all of your energy and intention into this thing, but really at the end of the day, as far as religion goes, what are you supposed to be putting your energy into? God, creation itself, the essence of what that's built in. And translatably, it's like, if you have some sort of spiritual structure, I'll speak in my case for God, it's like, when I have God on my side at work, I do better. When I have God on my side and when I'm doing art or I'm doing a music video or doing a podcast, I do better, but not when I'm treating it like a religion. Like, one of the reasons I guess now's a good time to put in the announcement. I'm going to put a 2-month break in for the channel, is because I have been treating Triple B, for example, like a fucking religion. I'm there at all times. I'm always at the altar of my computer, putting in my sacrifice, putting in my devotion, putting in all of my emotional energy. Things around me are slipping apart. I could be at a better job. I could be the artist that I want to be. I could be doing all these other things and not be having as many shortcomings as I am if I weren't treating this channel like a religion, like I do with so many other things in my life, like I think a lot of people do in their lives, because we're always longing for that sense of purpose. But if you don't navigate it properly and give it up to, dare I say, God, then it's kind of like, good luck.
Your use of the term religion is somewhat confusing, but it sounds like you have a tendency to idealize things, to split things into all black, all white. You tend to display extreme focus on a handful of issues, and it might look like scrupulosity, excessive concern for moral things to the point that there is a net negative in the ability to handle moral duties. Except scrupulosity probably isn't it, because the stories you've told of your father, they give you a very clear thing to try to avoid becoming. So you don't have a clear example of what a productive life looks like, at least from up close, just from afar.
Mm-hmm.
So all you can do is go off of your instincts and a vague idea about what other people have done and from your own experience. And that's, sorry, that my cat.
Oh, you're good. I've been watching Pat in the Book. I'm like, oh.
But that tends to result in an erratic life-work balance. And I can't say I'm a great example of good life-work balance, but that seems to be a common problem for people. A lot of people of our generation were raised either by helicopter parenting or people just parking their kid in front of the TV. So they didn't have a lot of the close interaction that it takes to be good at navigating human interactions or the kind of trust that it takes to feel safe when navigating bureaucratic systems.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing I'm trying to learn right now is how to feel safe again, how to feel secure, how to feel like I don't want to see that life from afar anymore, you know? I want to see it up close. Like in my uncle's case, you know, I've talked about him on the channel and his tattoos and how I've looked up to him. He was a cocaine addict coming from the same piece of fucking shit town that I fucking spent time in, came from the same fucking family, same interests, same music, you know, some of the same downfalls. And then I look at him like, but you still made it. And it's like, you know, and then the rest of the family suffers and envies that and talks shit about it. But it's like, you know, it is possible. And it's like, I want that to be possible for me because I feel like it's going to be the only way to break the cycle. But it's like, you know, it causes things in my relationship to struggle. You know, it just causes me to fall behind on so many things. And it makes it hard to even park in front of a television where sometimes I just really want to watch a movie or play a game. Like last night, I finally forced myself to spend 2 or 3 hours in front of a television. I bought a $10 chair at Goodwill. I got a little CCTV and an OG Xbox. And I just forced myself to play Medal of Honor for 3 hours. I had a beer, which is something I'm starting to do again very generously and trying to maintain it healthily. But for the first time, I was able to like really just engage and think about it and turn shit off. And that's something I haven't been able to not only do for the past year of doing the channel, but probably since I was 15. And it's just like, I kind of miss that. Minus when I was abusing drugs, I could sit in front of a video game and a TV all day. But I mean, in terms of like having just like a genuine like sense of control, I don't know.
Let me get this right. You couldn't play a game for several hours comfortably for years.
Healthily. Let's say healthily. Not comfortably, but healthily.
Okay.
But the last 2 years, it's like, yeah, watching movies is hard. Watching games is hard because, like, I would get so focused on politics or podcasting or what's going on in the world. It'd go from where I used to love to watch sitcoms all the time, like Modern Family or Roseanne or Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or Family Guy, and I would have those on the TVs all the time. And then it became doomsday updates, like 24-hour newscast on where the nuclear bombers and where the division's lining up and what's going on in this country and what's going on in this country. And it's like over time, I robbed myself of being able to enjoy those things because whenever I would sit down and do them, I began to feel guilty.
Politics is naturally anxiety inducing. And that's because a lot of politics is about what horrible things could go on and trying to avert it. But the thing is, if you don't have a good sense of scale, you can easily drive yourself crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're an ordinary person, you don't really have that much that you can do about it.
Yeah.
So it's all pain for no gain. And the ability to connect with the larger society, to engage in the little pleasures of ordinary life.
Borderline extinguished.
That is critical to maintaining your sense of sanity. A lot of people in politics are not mentally well. And you might get that from all the talk about politicians, myself among them. But the thing is, if you don't have some healthy outlet, you go crazy.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm starting to go crazy. It's like, I start the channel and, oh my God, I'm talking out about Antifa. And these people take baseball bats and burn down people's houses. And it's like, what is this going to get me into? And oh my God, are they going to come to my door? Keep it going. Keep it going. Oh my God, now I'm meeting this guy and getting all this fucking shit on underground organizations and human trafficking. And oh my God, now there's an alien invasion happening. The whistleblowers just said that this was going to happen. And now I'm sitting here with my long-term friend who always claimed to be in touch with aliens. And oh my God, now that friend's gone off the deep end and he's trying to start an alien cult. And now he's starting up shooting up the police department. And it's like, I have to examine why that went off. And it's because for a while, I feel like the work I was putting in was a worthy sacrifice. But now I think the signs from the universe are kind of like, hey, buddy, you've done a lot. Do the couple last little meaningful projects that you want to get out. Start a new channel. And, you know, I love David Cho. He's one of my favorite artists. He does a lot of, say if Bob Ross took acid, that's kind of what his artistic videos are. I put one in the beginning of the Chosen Renaissance video I put in. But one of his big lessons is make art out of curiosity and not fear. And I can see very clearly on the channel when I was making art out of fear versus when I was making it out of curiosity. And I want to create something new that's thought-provoking, fun, great musical journey, fan films, and just explode. Let that kind of build on the channel for a little bit. If anyone wants to like see my origins, if I get good enough of my shit one day, focus on being a tattoo artist. I had a tattoo call with like an hour heads up last night. Hey, can I come in and work on my arm a little bit? I was like, hell yeah, made an extra $40 there. Need to start getting that going a little more because hours are getting cut all over the place, pay shit. But the level I devote to this channel, there's a lot of editing that goes into this. Like all day of my time level editing, rewatching the videos over and over to make sure it's clipped right. And it's been fun. And I also feel though like it's narrowed my sense of focus because now that I'm looking at these projects, I'm looking at my own life story and the things that are important to me and the stories and the subjects that are important to me. And I'm like, okay, these are so important that you had to go and make things and scream to the world about them. Well, now I can come back and reference that, and I'm putting together timelines for all different types of stories, different projects, and it's like I'm not going to stop what's coming. Like these radicals are going off the deep end. My voice alone's not going to stop it, but maybe I can make something cool that can at least help some people feel better as we're going through this time. You know, something that feels relatable, something that feels emotional and impactful, that makes you feel less shitty during the day. Or maybe the right amount of scared or horrified, depending on how I'm feeling that day, because knowing me, I go dark light, dark light, dark light. But yeah, I just don't want to wreck my chances at a future. Like, the whole reason I went to Oregon was I wanted to be an artist, and look what I did with that.
I think you need a positive focus. Tattooing might be it. Have you finished any of your artistic projects?
So I have very different struggles with that, because here's the problem. I have fucking 1,000. And they're strewn all over the fucking place. As far as like the tattooing and the sitting, one thing that's pissing me off, I can sit in front of the computer all day and I can bust out the most amazing portrait designs you've ever seen. And when I actually get around to doing them on paper, they're pretty solid. It's the sitting down in place, not in front of the damn screen, with my tools and getting it done. I get extremely ADHD. I get like all over the place. When stressors are happening, I tend to get manic, and then I pace the apartment all day like I'm in a prison cell, which with a lot of the content on the channel, you can imagine most days are kind of like that. So that's been a problem. The writing has been becoming a lot. I thought I would be focusing on 2 or 3 stories, but I think I've actually probably started 7. But I'm actually filling out notebooks with timelines, breakdowns, you know, watching different videos, taking notes. Some of them are alien based, some of them are fan film based, some of them are just music videos. I do pretty good on the output with the music videos and that type of stuff. I'm trying to have that same level with all the other
You
stuff.
very definitely have some great skills at video editing for music videos.
Yeah. And I want to explore that, because like when I got into the kid, I was one of those red flag kids. I was like the black hoodie in the back of the class, head down, and I was always drawing like a skull or a dead body or something from a horror movie, back when I could actually sit down and focus on my drawing, which I think is schools need to kind of stop doing that, looking at every kid who's into dark subject matter as a potential shooter, because it does kind of zap some of the creativity out. But I remember going to the counselor's office, and they're just like, "Why are you writing this? This is so dark and blood and guts.
Because you're a teenager."
Yeah. And I'm just sitting here like, man, I don't know. Like, and I told him I don't know what it means, but when I get older, I think it'd be cool to do something like Rob Zombie. Because like I love the Rob Zombie movies. They're the best types of horror films you'll ever watch, because they're so fucking artsy and psychological. And now that I'm like doing these music videos, I'm just like kind of laughing about it, and I'm like, see, like, I mean, I did some fucked up shit along the way, but I didn't shoot up a school, and now I'm making trippy Rob Zombie style music videos for the Lord.
Well, there's an argument that people are more able to healthily deal with horror films and horror genre material than romance genre material. That back when kids were playing Doom, they weren't actually causing that many problems.
Mm-hmm.
When they tried to get kids to stop playing things like Doom, then there were a heck of a lot more problems.
Yeah, no, dead ass. And it's like, I do believe, like, as I get older, you know, the arguments when I was a kid, like, okay, Grand Theft Auto, will that have an effect on society? I'm not gonna lie, I kind of look around at some of these kids in some of these situations these days, and I'm like, okay, I bet if you went to his Xbox right now, I bet all he's been playing is GTA 5 for the last 5 years. I think that it warrants some discussion, but also, because for anybody who comes in, I see sometimes I'll get like a subscriber, and then they'll watch one of the crazy videos first, and then I immediately lose that subscriber. Like, if you're looking at it from the outside, it looks fucking twisted, but because I've had this violent outlet, it's helped a lot. It's really and truly helped a lot, which may not sound like the case given that I'm talking about being emotionally exhausted and needing to take a break from it. But it's probably better therapy than when I actually did therapy, because it was therapy that I got to take into control of my own hands. Everything I created was within my own power to put out. Every little bit of me and other people that I put out, that was me. That was my choice. Every little detail was curated. And that helped unlock a part of me that I think has been locked up away for a long time. And it gave me permission to start being myself a little bit more. Like, hey, I am fucked up, but I don't have to stay that way. And I can maybe show other people the same thing.
Okay. I'm curious. I'm curious if what you could do for a music video based on the lives of others or Goodbye Lenin.
Mein Name ist Alexander Kerner. Ich bin Bürger der Deutschen Demokratischen Republik. Und ich habe ein Problem. Sie liegt seit Monaten im Koma.
Da vorne liegt meine Mutter!
Die Mauer ist weg. Eigentlich ist das kein Problem, aber meine Mutter hat von all dem nichts mitgekriegt. Alles, woran sie glaubt, hat sich in ein paar Monaten in Luft aufgelöst. Einfach so. Jetzt ist sie aufgewacht.
Ein zweiter Infarkt wird sie nicht überstehen. Ja, nur die Gefahr einer Aufregung von ihrer Mutter fernhalten.
Was soll ich denn jetzt machen?
Der ganze Krempel muss hier raus. Mama muss das Zimmer genauso vorfinden, wie sie es verlassen hat.
Hat sich ja gar nichts verändert hier.
Was soll sich auch schon verändert haben?
Gab's so einen Heißhunger auf Spreewaldgurken?
Ein Spreewaldgurken?
Mensch, Junge, wo lebst du denn? Wann soll ich denn die Fernsehen gucken können?
3, 2, 1, Berlin.
In den DDR-Botschaften Prag und Budapest.
Wie ist das mit den 20 Mark?
Hier ist die Arbeit.
Ist das Gras auf der Wiese, das Korn auf dem Feld?
Mama, du bist die beste Mutter auf der Welt.
Alex?
Und wir lieben dich alle.
Was ist denn das?
Explain Goodbye Lenin to me.
Kid is part of the crowds protesting the East German government, gets arrested. While he's in jail, the Berlin Wall falls. His mother is in a coma, and the doctor tells her that if she gets a big shock, she'll die. And she was allegedly a very strong supporter of the East German government, so he decides to pretend as if East Germany never fell. So he creates kind of a big culture of lying in the family. If this in any way resembles what actually happened under communism, that is not a coincidence. So it became a little corner of East Germany, complete with a familial lying. And it's presented as a comedy.
Movie or musical?
Movie.
Okay. And it was what? Something Lenin?
Goodbye, Lenin.
Challenge accepted. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I've spent so much time talking about my own personal stories, but it's like there's so many people in like history, or like I want to like kind of like how I'm doing the mixtapes now. I want to do like tapes where some of it's music and then others like presentation, but to some sort of like entertaining degree. But like I've thought about different things like the battles of World War II, or one for detransitioners, or one that's just for nature and forest, or more that are for aliens. It's like I could do anything with it. I've spent a lot of time like talking about myself and showing my own stuff. Like it would be fun to start getting in the minds of other people, different stories.
One aspect of your life is that you've touched on a lot of the things that are relatively unusual in society, and with a degree of awareness that a lot of people don't have, or that they try to avoid. So you can spot things, you can highlight things that other people would ignore. Mm-hmm. So you have the ability to spot things in other people's stories and to tell those stories in a way most people would not.
I think you're right on that. And it's because, like, I genuinely love other people's stories. It's like, I think sometimes people maybe think I'm egotistical because I'm so into the subjects that I am, and because I'm so talkative and versed in everything, and I just quite frankly I don't shut up a lot of the time. It's one of my faults. But I'm just so interested in the world around me and learning from others around me, because the more I learn about the world, how people behave, people's backgrounds, it really is a survival skill. What they've taken away from us is a survival skill, and our inability to like come together and have like common community. And it's I don't know where I was going with that, but like I just want to do some real shit. We don't have real shit anymore. I mean, we kind of do, but it's just drips of real shit at this point. Like we need a floodgate, and for the internet to be fun and wild and kooky, and for Hollywood.
Remember the internet of 2006, 2008?
Oh. I watched a really good video recently I'll send to you. It's called "The Internet Used to Be a Place," and it broke my heart a little bit. The internet scares me. It doesn't feel real. The more AI's coming in, it's like dead internet theory starting to feel more and more plausible every day.
I have certainly run into a number of comments on people's posts that very obviously indicated that they were being run by AI. And by which, of course, I mean there's little bits of computer code. It didn't complete as a successful comment. The instructions to post it in computer code were left in.
Jesus. I feel like if AI does take over to some certain degree, they're going to take the internet first. And it'll all be inhabited by AI and any willing human participants. And
are you familiar with Warhammer 40,000?
Yes, we've talked about it a little bit.
Well, one of the ideas in it is scrap code. That, I mean, yes, it's presented as chaos, but it's basically virus or bad information for computers. But the thing is, if that stuff spreads, then computer systems become useless. So what do you have left?
Just nothing or a hive mind?
Well, it's basically human beings running around, telling them what to do in person. Basically, instead of having complex databases, you end up resorting to quill and parchment or things like that.
Is it fucked up that I wouldn't mind that to a certain degree? At least just temporarily. We could all work together to get things back in order, but maybe for just 10 or 15 years. It's like that one show. Oh, I think it was called Revolution. It was where all the power goes out on Earth, and it's kind of Walking Dead minus the zombies.
I don't know about that one. There was one that was. They had one season that I saw the pilot, but oh well. Power in the U.S. Knocked out because of a massive EMP blast. Oh well, that show didn't go anywhere. But yeah, in many respects, the more interconnected people have become, the worse certain aspects of society have become. When things are interconnected, you have managers who think that they have more information than they do, so they end up micromanaging more. You have scammers who have more access than ever before. You have more need of enforcement people because the effects are going to be felt far faster. Any group of fanatics or thugs can intimidate people more easily. Attention-seeking habits become supercharged. Genuine information gets buried in a mass of junk. People don't spend as much time thinking about what they're going to say or about the truth of things because they're following what's new, not what has really been considered. So in many respects, the internet has made some things better, but it's made a heck of a lot of things in daily life worse.
Well, and it's like all that to tie back to the beginning. Again, that's what I've been dealing with the last few weeks of work, and I feel like it fuels the managerial incompetence. But yeah, to rant on that one, this is one of the problems that I've had with coming into this new job is I'm a cashier. My job is to scan in people's items, make sure they don't steal, help them when they need assistance, because it's self-checkout, so it's not the most in the world, you know? But pretty straightforward job. It's pretty fucking simple. The amount of technology they like to integrate into the system is ridiculous. You know, they all like to give me shit and like joke around me like, oh, he's got a flip phone. Look at this dinosaur. Ha ha ha. You need to upgrade and get a smartphone. Every day it's, you need to get that smartphone. You need to get that smartphone. Like everything relies on a barcode, a QR code, all that crap. But you don't need it for your job. You really don't need it for your job. So long as you know what you're doing, you don't need that phone. So I have a tendency not to use it. And people will always ask why. And then it just turns into a podcast episode of here's why I don't trust technology since you fucking asked.
And one of the things that tech guys have been screaming about for the past couple of years is a lot of those fancy corporate systems are built on projects that aren't being updated. The people designing the systems that are being used don't understand everything that goes into it, so they are inevitably going to break down.
Yeah.
And the people who ordered it don't understand the risk of that. The people who made it, either they get put on some other project or they don't know how to handle all the programming inputs.
Yeah, tech support can't help you, managers can't help you. Anytime they'll roll their eyes at me and they'll be like, this is why you need to use your phone. And then I swear to God, 90% of the time they pull out their phone and it'll start updating in front of the customer. It'll turn off. The scanner's not working. And I'm like, okay, in the 5 minutes that we've been here, I could have walked to the aisle right there, gotten the SKU number myself, and we would have been completely fine. And it upset me because as they were cutting hours in our store to a radical degree, starting with the old people got hit first because one of our managers decided to overhire and they decided to use every excuse under the sun to save a buck. But there's this phone training, but it's not training. And it's not necessarily required. It's like a video game. It's you go around the store playing a video game with cute little poppy characters answering questions, find this item, find this item, find this item. Well, we're now understaffed. People are leaving. People are calling out because they're so fucking pissed. Customers aren't getting the attention they deserve. And hey, we need you to stop everything you're doing so you can go play this video game in the store.
It's the illusion of work rather than the reality of it.
Oh, yeah. No, and it pissed me off because we have one cashier who wasn't able to become head cashier, right? So she literally told me that, and she was like, but I'm better than everybody else, and I can do their jobs a million times better. And from that day on, she's a cunt, right? And she just makes work hell for everybody. She robs one of the old ladies she works with for her break. She throws everybody under the bus, super maniacal and conniving. And she was asking me why I didn't trust in the phone games and why I just didn't believe in it as a concept. And I was like, look, if you look at the psychology of it, gamifying the workplace has had more negative consequences than positive. Like what they did is essentially cater to your generation who couldn't be told to get off their phone and encourage them to be on their phone. They met the kids where they were at rather than being the adult saying, hey, this is a workplace. We don't need to be on our phone all the time. So she comes in the next day because as we're getting hours cut, this was the big incentive for us to do this. Whoever gets in the top 30% can get a snack or a drink of their choosing. And I'm sitting here lost over $100 per paycheck now. And everyone else around me has lost the same, if not more. And so what did that do? Well, I'm going to be a good employee. She played on her phone for 2 days straight, got in the top 30%. Me and her were the only two cashiers in the booth we were working. Customers would get pissed because she's sitting there playing on her phone, playing those stupid games. And customers would come to me, shit talk her to me because they're as pissed off about it as I am. So we start shit talking it to each other. And who gets the accolades? It's like, I'm not vibing with this. This is retarded. These people are idiots.
Agreed. That's what low-level management is supposed to be there to prevent.
Yeah, and then I mentioned E2 as we're losing cashiers and head cashiers. They're now trying to train lot loaders to be backup cashiers because management's panicking because now the work's coming down on them. And these people, their job all day is to push carts, which sounds menial. Any of us go out there for 30 minutes and have to do their job? Dude, we are drowning in sweat. We can't breathe. Like pushing 30 carts at once, it's no easy chore. They get 5 or 10 minutes to breathe every now and again, which they deserve. And now they're like, no, we're going to go put them to work on the cash registers. And I looked at her and I said, no, are you going to match their pay for that? I said, they do not belong over here. They are not trained for this. Do they have to sit through the same 3 days of training as we do? Or are you just going to throw them to the wolves? Like you did to our new head cashier that's thinking about quitting, or that you did to this person who's thinking about quitting. It's a broken system.
There is a famous article. The complex systems cannot survive the competency crisis. There's a fall in competence in vital institutions, and the result is that the complex systems that depend on them aren't going to survive it. If your company relies on managers that are not actually looking at what's happening, they're not going to be able to stay in business.
And every single time this happens, I never give any names, but this always happens. I'm either the first one of a wave of at least 5+ people to leave these places, or I jump in with the wave because it's become too much and I see what the good people leaving causes. And every single time I look at them, just like the other day, and I say, you have most of your staff threatening to leave right now. They may be playing cute to your face right now, but most of your staff is about to walk out. What are we going to do then? And then they say, don't worry about it. It's not your job. Everything's going to be fine. And then usually, in this case, it was a matter of 3 days before the best goddamn fucking head cashier we had in the store, kick-ass lady, been there for years, gone. Because we're not worth listening to.
I will say again, have you considered joining management?
Hell no. At this place.
At that place, yeah. Because they seem retarded, but
at any place, this is why I need the break. I need to learn to eat again. I need to work on my eating disorder. I need to exercise, and I need to draw. I need to create. I need to get it to the point where that pencil doesn't leave my fucking hand. And if I have to suffer places like this a little longer, because I'm willing to stick it out, I will. And I would love to learn managerial skills along the way. You know, I love watching YouTube videos like Andy Elliott or different people who teach different levels of leadership and management skills and people interactions and all that. I still love to study that because when that moment comes, I want to be ready for it. I'll just get chewed up and spit out. These people are snakes. They're reptiles. And a person like me who is this vocal does not make it that long. And it's like, I do believe that I can bring positive change, but I think that any positive change I could bring would only be temporary for individual people, but would only come at the cost of my own employment. And at that point, I feel like losing a manager job for my temper or my inability to keep my mouth shut would be more of a negative reflection on a resume than a positive one. Because to the point that they push me, it's like I'm just as vocal with them at work as I am on the channel. Everyone likes to stay tight-lipped, but I make it clear, I'm like, managerial crisis. This is ridiculous. People have lives. There's a lot more going on here that you do not understand. And when it burns at this point, it's like, I don't want to jump in a burning ship with them. I just kind of stand back, and it just kind of demonstrates me what I don't want in life. Because I want to be a leader. I want to have a team. I want to have good people around me, but it's like, because I told you the reason I was thinking about being a head cashier originally is because someone was asking me about it. But less than 2 days after that, it got so bad so quick that all of the head cashiers talking about leaving. You know, you got this 80-plus-year-old immigrant man. You got all these ladies who, you know, they're probably want to retire, look towards retirement. And then you see all these young jackasses they're bringing in and all these kids who don't listen, can't do their jobs. And it's like, I don't know. It's almost getting to the point where I just want to go back to fucking shelving things in the back, being away from customers. Like, I yelled at a customer the other day. Like, we had a customer, he stayed 30 minutes past closing. He was liquored up, like he always fucking is. He's walking back and forth. Where's my cunt wife, you stupid fucking bitch? You should have had the cement ready. He's fucking foaming at the mouth. All the customers are staring. And he's yelling at his wife, who's a cancer patient. I shit you not. Looks like she had fucking leukemia, calling her a cunt and a retard and all this shit at the fucking register. And then the head cashier who just quit, one of my favorite people that I worked with, he turns around and starts saying the same shit to her. And I shut his ass down real fucking quick. He said, well, I've never been talked to this way ever. I spent $215,000 here. And I'm like, yeah, go try spending it. Get your shit and get out. Well, I've never been talked to this. And I'm paraphrasing on that part, but I did tell him to go. And he's just like, well, give me your name. And I was so hyped up, I gave him a fake fucking name. And I was just like, dude, you need to go. There's a big black guy who tried to come between us and like put us apart. But it's like that level to where it's like, when they foster an environment where people can just come in and be abusive and be assholes, and there's no manager to call in these situations and you have to handle it yourself.
Wait, there was no manager on call?
Never. No, most of this you can hear in my store all day is need MOD, customer service, manager on duty, need MOD, customer service, need MOD, customer service, need a garden associate, need a garden associate. you know, no one comes, and then we'll be literally calling for all these associates time in and time out. And what are they all doing? Arms crossed, having a powwow in the corner like buddies. While my fellow associates are getting fucking abused. So I have to be the fucking asshole. And I don't fucking mind being the asshole, but that's the type of shit that's going to get me fired if there's a spotlight on me. Because I don't play that shit.
Okay, I wasn't aware that managerial incompetence had gotten to that point yet.
Dude, I'm telling you, I've only been here for 3 or 4 months. This happened in 5 weeks. It went from I was bragging about this job, I love this company, I love its values, to holy shit, what just happened? Like, I was tattooing my coworker last night, and he was just like, yeah, he's like, my paychecks when I first started working, because he started working with me, he was like, I was making $1,500, and he's like, now I'm doing good to pull 6.
Yeah.
And then also the head cashiers are getting hours cut, so it's like, I wouldn't even be looking at.
The restaurant that I used to work in, they were cutting people's hours pretty bad by the time I left, but no manager on duty is what the...
Like, the word's on duty, right? You'd think that would mean something. But it just doesn't. And you know what happens is we're completely understaffed. We're left to shit. District comes through the other day. They have as many hands on deck as fucking possible. Spend 2 months with them. Hey, someone should call IT to get these registers fixed. Hey, someone should fix these registers because some of them will go down for hours and it backs up customers. So I'm sitting there. I'm one of 2 cashiers the other day. And she's the new boss that came in, the one that's been causing a lot of problems. Okay, well, when this happens, every time now, I need you guys to get on the phone with IT, and I need you to handle it. And I looked at her and I said, oh, yeah. I said, that's not my job. And she's like, well, it'll take a minimum of 45 minutes. And I looked at her, I'm like, a minimum of 45 minutes for me to be stuck on the phone with 5 fucking Indians getting sent around in a circle. That's not a racist accusation. They're all Indians. Dealing with the fucking language barrier, dealing with fucking customers screaming and backing up, having to go into... This is your job.
Does she have no idea? I'm sorry. It's like the very the function of a low-level manager has been forgotten.
They're outsourcing all their jobs and our jobs. We don't even have HR in the store. HR is a bunch of people who work from home, who sit at their computer, who don't know jack shit about anything. And they don't like it when you swear. I literally said, hey, I haven't been able to buy groceries for 4 weeks. And I put a couple fucks in there, and she's like, sir, if you're going to speak to me like this, and I said, ma'am, unless you're sitting here with an empty stomach, you don't get to lecture me on my language right now. Shut up and listen. They'll listen to that shit. That's the thing. I get too mean. I come off as this like really nice, bubbly guy, and I really try to be. But when push comes to shove, I become a fucking asshole, and I hate it. I hate being an asshole so fucking much because I'm good at it. I'm the best asshole you'll ever fucking meet. I could destroy your fucking life if you wanted to, or if I wanted to. That's not good to know that monster's inside me, but I feel like I'm just constantly surrounded by people who are just pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's like, I just want to be not even happy, just content, just to not go home angry about my job, to wake up in the morning pissed about everything, knowing that it's going to completely fall apart in some new weird way, just like the rest of my life, just like the rest of everybody's lives who works there, because we're all dealing with fucked up shit. I'm going to miss this outlet when the podcast is over. Knowing that I'm like publicly shit talking my job into the wind and they don't know is kind of a nice feeling.
I mean, but I'm more disturbed at how it says that you're describing a situation in which low-level managers don't seem to understand what it means to be a low-level manager.
And for a lot of them, I think it's their first time being a manager. And the thing is like, this is what I believe too, and this is another reason I don't want to move up to a head position. I think that if you're going to be a manager of a store or even a head cashier, say if you're a head cashier, you should have been there for a certain amount of time, and you should not only know the base knowledge, you should know a couple extra things as well before tackling on it. Because as soon as you get into that position, there's going to be a slew of things thrown into your lap that you're going to have to handle. For a manager of a store, I feel like you should, if you're saying working in a department or a retail store, you should at least have worked in at least 2 or 3 departments. There should at least be some hopping around. A big thing I feel like is that they bring in people from the outside who don't know the company, don't know the position, don't know the type of work that they're doing. Maybe they were working at a Walmart and now they're working at a Whataburger. It's like, I want to see someone who's been there for a minute, you know?
And the best managers are ones who have done the job, the elements before, so that when they're promoted, they have a gut deep understanding of how everything works together.
Mm-hmm.
But there's kind of a minimum level of instincts and expectations involved to be a beneficial manager rather than a destructive one.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those is the manager is expected to be on duty when they are listed to be on duty. They're there to be there to be the interface between the low-level workers and higher-level management. That means being the guy. That means responding when the employees need you. That means contacting IT when there's an IT problem. That's why you're there when you aren't otherwise contributing.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, like I said, it's just a moldy piece of bread just pops up fucking everywhere. And it's like, I would love to be a good manager, be put in that situation, but every time I see a good manager or work with somebody who's the ideal representation of what it means to be a boss, not just at work, but in their life as an individual, as a person, as a father or a mother, daughter, son, whoever the hell, just outstanding individual, they get fucked the hardest.
It's as if there's a critical mass of incompetence and sorry, a critical mass of incompetence and corruption that has become big enough to steamroll everybody in their way. And who's the biggest threat to an incompetent manager? A competent one.
Mm-hmm. That's why they're starting to side eye me right now. It's just like, I'm questioning too much. The way these other employees, it's like they'll have the exact same feelings as I do. And then when they come and ask, how are they doing? How's everything going? It's like a smile goes on their face and they just start putting on that facade and that mask and they start bullshitting their way. And I'm just sitting here too, like, no wonder they think everything's great. You're blowing smoke up their fucking ass. Tell them it's fucked. We literally just had a 20-minute conversation about how things are falling apart up here. And you're going to tell this bitch it's fine? No, it's hell on earth. Tell her that. And then when I told her that, because I told her everything that I was having a problem with, minus her, because I didn't want to be too rude or personal with it. And she's like, you know what? Good on you. You keep preaching your truth, and that's how you feel. You just keep saying it. And I'm like, girl, you are my boss. If you believe in what I'm saying is true right now, you are the conduit to take that to the top. You're the only one that's going to fucking listen to me. But clearly, you're not listening to me. You're just trying to blow smoke up my ass so I don't quit.
There is the idea in some management cultures that happy talk makes things better, as opposed to destroying the trust needed to get things done.
I told you about this before. I'll share with the audience. I was so pissed off the other day. We had some whiteboards there that track our scores like we're in a game now because they have to gamify everything like we're fucking children. And I just went to the top of the whiteboard because we were so screwed that night. And I wrote, "You will lose hours and be happy." And part of me was wondering what she would do about it because I didn't care that day. But I came in the next day and she had erased everything except the words "be happy." And I was just like, if that ain't the sign from the universe that I need to get my shit together, I don't know what is. Because she doesn't even know what that means. And here's the thing, she's not fucking supposed to. New World Order is going to take over and everybody's going to be well-versed in the system without knowing what the fuck it is.
It's as if there's a bunch of incompetent people who, on some level, recognize their incompetence, but they hope someone else will be there to pick up the pieces. So they want to believe in the fantasy that an all knowing government can somehow make things better for them. The unfortunate reality of government is that government is not all knowing, and even when one part of the government knows something, it takes time for information to propagate. And that's even assuming people are doing their jobs, but the government has the same kind of managerial crisis as basically every other institution in society.
And, you know, when we're talking about comparing these things to religion, when you're saying all that to me, it sounds like these managers are waiting for their own personal little messiah. You know, it's, I'm going to wait for a savior. And I feel like, you know, it's kind of one of the reasons I included that clip in the beginning of my Heroes and Villains mixtape. The recent one I did, I can't remember the name of right now, but it's Joseph Campbell talking about Christ. And I think that's kind of the solution, is the return of Christ. It's like Jesus isn't going to walk out of the clouds more than likely and say, "Hey, I'm back. Everything's fixed now," unless it's some sort of government blue beam type project where they put a hologram in the sky. The return of Christ is going to realize that we as individuals have the power, that we can step up, that we can make the proper sacrifices, that we can look authority in the face no matter what they may do to us. But so long as whatever aspect of your life you're sitting around waiting for a savior, be it a fucking financial savior or a fucking religious savior or a managerial savior, then it's like good luck surviving judgment, because that Christ, for lack of better terms, isn't with you. If you don't recognize it in yourself, if you can't step up to make this world a better place, no one's going to do it for you.
I don't necessarily agree with the way you worded it, but a genuine desire to make the world better has to include some acknowledgement of what the world is and a genuine effort at being effective.
Yeah.
Simply being passive and blaming everybody else is not fulfilling one's moral duties to the world.
And I think that's the thing people forget, is we have moral duties to the world. A lot of people think they could just get to opt out of it, and it's like, why the fuck else are you here? If not to live for yourself? Like, are you here because you have purpose? Look, we all have purpose. I feel like even the biggest piece of shit in the world has purpose. But now that's society's just curated like a zoo. This is where we go to eat. This is where we go to shit. This is where we go to spend. This is where we go to fuck. This is where we go to smoke. And everybody's just has their patterns of where they go and what they do. And so long as that pattern's never broken, you just assume that you're taken care of and that everything's going to be all fucking fine and dandy because, hey, so long as the world's functioning around me, why should I care? And it's like, in terms of Texas, it's like, how long before this turns certain areas here in Oregon? It kind of already has if you look at Austin. It's like there is an ultimate negative cost to these types of things if they're allowed to persist.
I think that the society of a couple generations ago was built on certain assumptions about human behavior that was not unreasonable for its time, but people forgot the degree to which that was a product of things like the religious ideas of the time, the intellectual ideas of the time, and just the degree of life experience people had. It was assumed that back in the 1950s, vast numbers of people had military experience. They understood the basics of how to work in an organization, how to manage people at a low level or a high level, that pattern of dealing with people, many of whom didn't want to be there, the rough and tumble of disagreement. They were used to a certain degree of forcefulness that seems very out of keeping today.
Forcefulness just scares people now. These
Yeah.
kids don't respond well to forcefulness because for lack of better words, I've had to be forceful with some of these younger kids come in and be like, "Hey, you need to do your goddamn job. Like, I'm sick and tired of calling for you." Dude, you act like they act like I'm their daddy, and I just fucking beat them. How fucking could you? Oh my god! And then they have to go shit talk to somebody, and it's like, this is next level softness. And in terms of that, it's just I just always imagine I'm just like, which populations are easier to take control of by force? If the military were to come through right now, it's like these kids ain't fighting back. They're gonna be too anxious. Fucking someone's gonna point a gun at them, say go line up. They're gonna go fucking line up. Hell, they hear a man's coming from fucking towns away with a gun and tell him to line up. They're gonna be in line by the time he fucking gets there. And it sounds dark, but it's really like it takes away their survival instincts. It takes away their ability to work and function. It's just a generation left up for predation, basically, on all fronts.
The lack of self-protective instinct, I think, is one thing, but it's also that complex systems need a degree of internal pushback because organizations work best when you've got people sometimes going in different directions. The operations guy is thinking about what could be, so they try to imagine scenarios and test them. Meanwhile, maybe they have a poor sense of risk, so they need the accounting guys or the legal guys or someone else to yank them back and say, okay, this is a nice idea, but we're not throwing everything into it.
Yeah.
So
it's like
they
a
have
healthy
to,
body when all the organs work properly. Like we're making sure everything's distributed properly so we have a healthy working system.
and sometimes you need forces working against each other in order to be effective. And if people can't handle a little bit of that, they can't fulfill their role of being a useful part of the organization. They're just sheep. They're useless for anything but prey.
It's like, God, you need that criticism to grow. Look, there's been a couple times I am not perfect at work. If anyone were to catch me out in the wild at work, you might catch me dicking around sometimes. So, like, I'm not perfect. Sometimes my job gets boring and I'll chat with someone in the corner. There's been a couple times where you get some of the older people coming in, they're like, you need to get off your ass and get out there. You need to quit standing here. You know that counter's dirty. And all the other kids there, like I said, they just act like they're abused and know what I say? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Get my fucking ass to work. And it's not because they're being mean. If anything, it buys their respect. And I make sure that, hey, next time I'm going to make sure that's done so that they don't fucking get pissed at me. And that way I'm not causing us to fall behind because, hey, they were right. I should have been doing that. But these kids don't take it that way. They take it as an act of rebellion. Whenever I called out one kid because I had like 3 or 4 people backed up and we were selling these giant bags that are like 50, 60 pounds. And so he had to go help some of them because some of them are older. Some of them, maybe a little bit lazier, but they asked for help and that's their job. And I had to go to a manager because I'm like, look, this kid, he's been on this job 3 or 4 days and he's wasted. He is passed out over in this department. He is red in the face. He's slurring. He's stumbling all over the place. So, of course, the excuse to give me is, well, are you just angry because he's a kid and he's younger and he's a little outspoken? I'm like, no, I'm pissed because he has liquor on his breath and he's drunk and I have customers backing up. What does he decide to do for the next week? Oh, as an act of rebellion, I'm just not going to answer whenever he calls over the intercom anymore. That's the type of brats that are being raised right now. And I wish well for him. He's just a fucking kid. I'm not going to sit here and shit talk an 18-year-old too hard, but it's just like when that's a repetitive pattern and you have management not only hiring these people, but then hiring them, not evaluating them, and allowing them to continue this. It's like I left Dorian for a reason, you guys. I'm real sick of this shit. Like, I'm not going to pretend I'm perfect. I go into work stoned every fucking day. I get my shit done. I do my fucking job. I treat the customers like human beings. I don't slack most of the time. There's some days where, like I said, I kind of but it's retarded, and it's disrespectful to people actually trying to like go there and put in their time and work.
They're picking dolts for management.
And I'm gonna keep praising it from the rooftops, only because I know there's no way my voice is actually gonna affect any legislation on this. We need to start discriminating based on age. How about instead of trying to get all these younger, hip, diverse, gay and trans, whatever the fuck kids, how about you find someone fucking 56 years old, down on their luck, about to lose their fucking house, and you give them a job not because it's the right thing to do, but because they're actually going to fucking work.
AKA meritocracy.
That's why I say I'm only saying it because my voice will not affect any legislation in this matter, and it'll be one of the only times I say it. But in that aspect, I'm just like, sometimes I'm just like, I would rather just work with old people. I love old people. I get along famously with old people. These kids suck so much. They can't. I don't want to be too mean. I want to have faith.
The stories you're describing are certainly worse than my time in a restaurant.
And I'm tired of collecting them. I'm tired of collecting horror stories like Pokemon cards. My collection's too damn big. I don't have enough space in my house no more. Like, oh man.
The manager who hired the guy who passed out, was she on site and could she verify?
I think the manager that hired him was the one who got fired for hiring too many people.
Ah.
Because what they did is this manager got fired for hiring too many people. Another store opened up the road, and because it timed out as well as it did, in order to save the money they would have lost by hiring too many people, they cut our hours, blamed the other store opening up, told some of the other workers, oh, this is seasonal, this happens every year. It does not. And that lie has been spiraling out of control ever since, and is kind of what's been resulting in people being lost.
Okay, maybe this is a quirk of my childhood, but it used to be that kids were taught poetry. For example, what a tangled web we weave when we first set out to deceive. And I got the French version of that, but little rhymes like that were kind of a reminder of the negative effects of lying.
Yeah, The Boy Who Cried Wolf. That's a big one for me. Yeah, there's no... Oh my god, and I can tell you from my mother, who's an English teacher who teaches kids about 4th to 5th grade, like, bless her heart, she's trying to teach them poetry. These teachers are trying to the best of their ability to teach these kids, but a big part of it too, there's no parental structure at home. Speaking of which, my mother's calling me. Can I take this real quick? All right, 1 second. Well, I hate to do it, but my mom says she's going to be here in 15 minutes. We were having her over for dinner today, and I thought I had another hour, but I guess not.
Okay, well.
And closing thoughts are, man, I wish this feels so inorganic now. I'm like, god damn, we covered so much.
That's life.
Yeah.
I suppose that those stories are kind of a reminder that our economic problems are maybe a bit bigger than tariffs. It's just basic level societal decay that has an economic effect. If people can't manage, if they can't put aside their distractions enough to work, then all the systems people depend on aren't going to work.
Mm-hmm. And I believe, too, that this is all a result of the destruction of culture. It's like you said, back in the 70s and 60s, the framework for a lot of these systems and people's individual structure was based on religion and family and things that we've just kind of put down the shitter. I really think that a way to fight back against this is maybe we need to start revitalizing the culture a little bit to be more critical of these types of systems and to get that culture back that says, hey, We're done dealing with jackass managers who can't check out our simple bag of groceries. We're sick and tired of cashiers that are sitting around playing on their phones. We just want good service back. We just want life to go back to normal. Like, we have to, on various levels, switch up the culture, be it our family lives, our spiritual lives. Like, we got to regain that balance, I think.
I notice that this is a difference between me and some other people. I view competence as a moral obligation. If you genuinely care about other people, you have to have some idea of how to actually care for other people, rather than just having emotion. There seems to be a lot of people who think caring about other people just means having emotion and not actually thinking about how to do your job properly. I think the moral status of competence has been ignored for a long time, and maybe having some of that back would be a good idea. And I will say, in some of the social situations I'm in, like going to a party or going to church, talking to people about basic concepts like how did these people in the office deal with needing to contact an engineer? I hear those stories by talking to old guys. So that gives me a bit of a lesson for how things work, how they can work. But if people spend all their time online and with things that don't really relate to maybe developing competence, they aren't going to get that.
Yeah. And it's like, we live in a society right now where I'm glad to see it. Everyone's more air quote conspiratorial than ever. Everybody sniffs that there's a deception, that there's different levels of collusion, and that there seems to be a large body of people
The
out to
government's
just.
too incompetent to run a large scale.
Well, there's people that want it. Whether or not they're the ones implementing it, it's like we sense that there's things
Biden is
going.
in fine health.
Oh, we'll go on that one next time. I know it's going to be a minute, but fuck, we'll go off on that one. But yeah, no, it's just. I don't remember what I was saying on that, but I don't know. We need to stop blowing smoke up each other's asses. Just because someone's like a good coworker of yours, or a boss, or a friend, or a family member, if they're continually demonstrating these patterns over, over, and over, that's where I was getting with it. Maybe use some of what you're. All this time that I'm spending thinking about the government and where are the children and how are they hiding the aliens and all that shit. Well, it's fun and important and all that shit. Maybe try to put some of that energy into, okay, what's going on in the workplace? Is this conspiracy or is this incompetency? I think you teach us more than anybody that most of the time it's fucking incompetency, which is easier to tackle. But a lot of us, we're so screwed at the people at the very tippy top that are screwing us, that we don't spend so much time worrying about who's literally screwing us day after day after day with a smile on their fucking face. So it's like, call it the fuck out. Do so professionally, but it's like, because more often than not, these types of personality traits that these people exhibit who come into these positions, they are cowardice at the end of the day. And I can say from experience that the more confident you are in voicing your opinion and your say, the more likely they are to cower down than retaliate. But also expect retaliation. It's war. There's sometimes I've gone to work sometimes and I read a little bit of The Art of War by Sun Tzu that I keep in my car, just for how should I tactfully deal with this throughout the day. And that may seem like an excessive way to deal with it, but how the fuck else are we going to survive this shit?
There's a reason why corporate executives used to read The Art of War a lot.
It makes sense. I'm not going to pretend like I get everything. Some of it's over my head, but sometimes I read it and I'm like, oh, that's just like yesterday. This is where my shortcoming was. I fucking did this when I should have done this or this. It's not the Bible, but as far as like human survival, it's pretty damn close. Like, we need to start realizing that the battle is more than just government, I think. And that battles don't necessarily have to entail blood and violence. It can entail wit or creativity.
These are battles of persuasion, not bloodletting.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be going and picking up a gun just because of something I fucking said. This is we use battle and war and weapons here, we're being figurative.
A lot of people think about society as a body, and when they think about government, they generally think of the brain. No, the government is a digestive system. It takes in resources, does something with them, and then leaves a lot of excrement.
I always thought of it like a dick. It's always fucking everybody, and it's always thinking with it.
Fair enough. But government follows many of the same management fads, management incompetence as the rest of society. With the slight worsening factor of it's really hard to fire anyone in government. So how many people actually keep on doing their job?
Yeah. Yeah, given what we learned with Doge, not many. Fucking A, man. Well, Cyprian, this has been another great talk. I hate to do it. I would have spent at least another hour here with you today, but I gotta make some spaghetti for my mama. You know, like I told you, remind the people again, I'm going to take 2 months minimum. I'm not going to give a set date, but I like to think that if I play my cards right, this will be the last time in my life that I can ever give myself a summer break. So I'm going to take the opportunity to make some cool shit, start up a new channel, work on my writing, and hopefully when I come back, there will be some new crazy stuff for you guys to enjoy and a new place for y'all to go out and check out other things other than, you know, long form discussion, politics, human trafficking. I'll probably hit on some of the same subjects in some of the videos, but like for the most part, I want to just start making art out of curiosity and sharing that with you guys. So,
All right. Oh, always good talking to you.
Good talking to you as well. And yeah, you guys have a good rest of your night. Peace and love.
WXLT TV, Channel 40, Sarasota. One is off on the trail of the mysterious green goose.
Big old 17.
Devereaux.
The government is fucking up the planet. They don't do it alone. It's facilitated by the ones who do what they want. Eat what they want you to eat. Sleep when they tell you to sleep. Vote for a president, boy, just go ahead, believe the deceit. Nature gon' give you a treat. Feel that shit under your feet. Planet gon' shift and throw these richies out into the streets. Succumb to the blistering heat. 1700 degrees. The earth is the trash that's on fire. Now you finally see the world is falling victim to stupidity of man. The earth about to blink and end humanity again. The world is falling victim to stupidity of man. The earth about to blink and end humanity again. The world is falling victim to stupidity of man. The earth about to blink and end humanity again. The world is falling victim to stupidity of man. The ignorance is gonna kill us all in the end. Fuck the oceans over, we the gutter in the water. Humans on a mission trying to make the earth a martyr. Know what they want you to know. Go where they want you to go. Do as you're told. The social norm is not questionable. Go to work and pay your taxes. Earth is flipping off the axis. Karen's on the roof and she can't reach the police, so she's frantic. Over shallow and pedantic, running terrified and panic. Toxic radiation, now it seems the waste is finally landed. The world is falling victim to stupidity of man. The earth about to blink and end humanity again. The world is falling victim to stupidity of man. The earth about to blink and end humanity again. The world is falling victim to stupidity of man. The earth about to blink and end humanity again. The world is falling victim to stupidity of man. The ignorance is gonna kill us all in the end. Let that meteor hit that blast wave rip across the planet. God damn it, I've been waiting for this shit. try to blame Satan for the shit. They manipulate the weather,